Hello everybody. Welcome to the channel if you are new, and welcome back if you are already a subscriber. Today's video is going to focus on my February flip throughs. Very long overdue. I apologize about that. It took me a lot longer to catch up on my February content than I estimated, and there's always a lot going on, but February just seemed to be really fraught with chaos in the form of either I was gone, so I took a trip to New Orleans, and then I came back and needed to catch up, and then I got sick for a good little bit from a sinus infection. If you've watched some of those Plan With Me's, then you'll totally know all about it. Also, you'll know that Banks was not feeling well through a chunk of the month. So it was just a lot. It was a lot. And so just kind of keeping up with the daily pages got really hard. And so that took a lot longer for me to catch up on than I estimated. But thank you guys for your patience. I'm really, really grateful. But let's just go ahead and dive into all of this. So I am going to move the Han off to the side, and we are going to start with, I'm going to start with the budget planner. Mainly because I was not, and I mean, this will go for March as well whenever we get there, but I have been really, really bad at tracking as a whole. So I'm still maintaining the same structure, which is having kind of like one sheet that has like the balance, the carrier, the minimum, and the amount that I actually paid. I've got, and see, this is wrong because some of these have been paid like, I don't really know. I think some of them might have moved. That's actually accurate. So I can, eyeballing it, but I'm definitely not doing well with tracking in February as well as March. Like, I'm going to go ahead and eat that frog a little bit. I just really have, again, when things start to get crazy, it never surprises me what falls off first in terms of like what am I being the most consistent with. So typically the first thing to kind of go will be the budget planner, because it's not, especially with kind of this season of money, and in this season, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase that. In the season of coming in and going out, and the season of spending is very low. So I'm not really concerned with overspending because there's really not a lot of extra going around at this point in time. So it's not exactly something I stress about. Something that I do kind of dislike is the fact that I'll get backed up on scanning receipts, and those actually get me rewards. So I need to be better about that. The way I chose to separate my weeks was 1 week for the New Orleans trip. And then from there, I broke it down into 3 more weeks. I took no notes. So one thing that I was really enjoying about January, and I would really love to go back to this, and I've talked about it before in previous videos, which was at the end of every week, I totaled my spending if I was under or over and what contributed. So like in this particular case, 100% of that was Takeout Madness and a Trader Joe's extra non-essential items. And then I put gas on 1.8 versus 1.9. So I got gas a day early, which, I mean, thankfully for my car, it's not too exorbitant, but it's probably between $30 and $40 a full tank. So to get it a day early does definitely affect the budget, but I really enjoy doing that. This is something I'd really love to restart in April. I'm trying to, and I'd like to take this moment to just like full on encourage people. And I can close this because there's no further details to show you. It just, I mean, sorry, that's the wrong month entirely. But yeah, I did actually keep up, or I went back and actually filled in all of February. So as far as accurate, February is accurate in terms of what I spent and when I spent it. The only thing that needs a little bit of adjusting is right here on this, where I moved several of these bills over to the first check of March because it was still within the realm to pay them. So that was totally fine. And it took some weight off of some of these checks, which was great. But I will close this and then I will talk about, I hope this makes people feel better. So as I was playing catch up through March on February, I hope that made sense. So I was doing catch up work and I was starting to get really anxious because I was like, there's that, I am definitely a completist and I'm definitely, it's part of the plannerness in me, but I feel this need to like complete a full month, do the flip, and then keep moving. But the problem is that it puts me further behind for the next month. And I feel like I'm constantly playing catch up. And then when you're also doing something like a 5-year or Project Life, you're already behind in all of those things. So it's literally like this just eternal loop of I'm behind. And it's just not really great for a mental headspace. So as I was approaching the last final pages of my dailies, I started to think, and a lot of this was prompted by my Hobonichi weeks. And we'll talk about that with March flip more than anything, because that's where it's going to become really apparent that because I was playing so much catch up for February, a lot of March just didn't get done. So what I'm hoping to do is, as soon as April starts, get back to are all of today's pages filled out and just let it go. Like I really want to just let March go. The only things that I'm going to really focus on making sure that are done are the daily pages and the weeks. Like that's what's important to me. I just want to start fresh when it comes to my trackers. I'm a lot better in my weeks about that because I just can't always remember what it should say. And then I start to feel really like false about what I'm recording. And a lot of what pushed me over the edge of, okay, just leave it alone. Leave it alone. If it's not in the HON, it doesn't matter for March, if that makes sense, was because as I was journaling, I made a couple mistakes because I'm literally documenting something that happened over a month ago and I'm trying to give it like detail. And while I'm really great at like looking at all my resources and trying to put myself in that frame of mind, I was also really bummed because there were things that I was missing. And a lot of that is because I'm not doing it in real time. And I love the pages that I look back on where I know I did them that day, or like literally the next day. And I was doing my daily page for today and I was like, God, I love how this looks and I love how this feels because it's so genuine and it's those little tiny pockets of my day that I really want to actually remember, not just like, let me look at the to-do list and let me look at kind of what was going on and try to gauge. So that's my random side rant and my note to you guys of, sometimes we've got a runaway month and it's hard to make peace with that. And I get it. So let's chat about February. So this was one of the few opportunities, and I do need to go back and put some dates up here because this was the 29th through the 4th. So the 29th of January through the 4th of February. And the way that I had this set up was I had 2 habit trackers for the 2 weeks. So this was week 1 of February, week 2. We left for New Orleans on the 1st and got back a day early. So we actually came back on Tuesday. I had a lot of Sunday Scary energy happening because even though we came back a day early, it kind of went to hell in a handbasket, and I am really proud because I definitely could have gotten Sunday Scary really bad today because it really got started much later than I anticipated, but I've been really calm and just kind of breathed through today and just taken everything, like looked at it all and said, okay, what's the first thing that I need to do? What's the most important thing for me to do? And it was to make sure that I was ready to film this video at some point today, but then it was getting some gardening errands done and making sure the groceries were done and some meal prep was done. Like, I just kind of looked at the list broadly, and renewing my insurance license, and I just kind of took the list and I was like, okay, you're the most important thing that has to be done out of this entire list at this moment, and just working through it. Sorry, I was starting to wonder if maybe I could hear, okay, irrelevant. Sorry. So I did okay, and I did even put a note that says all tracking subject to interpretation and adjustment. Mardi Gras. OJ cocktails may be a no-go. And that comes from, so how I said I was either I was sick or Binks was sick or we were gone. So we were gone. And there's a couple notes in here that say, you know, like I was nauseous and I was sick at the party. And at first I thought it was oyster related. And then on Sunday, I got really, really, really sick. And I think it was there was a couple things that I am noticing, and that's like when I travel, and this started happening in Orlando the last 2 years. The worst was 2 years ago when I went with Taylor and Tyler, and I kept getting really, really, really sick. And I'm starting to think that my body really does not love something that I love. Go figure. I really love mimosas and bellinis and that kind of thing. And so I ended up having screwdrivers that morning, and I was actually really excited. This was on this trip. I ended up having a screwdriver, and if you don't know what that is, it's orange juice and vodka. Super simple. But I had one and I was like, oh, this is great because I'm not going to get drowsy like I would if it's a mimosa. And then I was fine. And then I started to I felt like I was getting a headache, which could be from a number of things. One, massive temperature change. To go from Georgia, where we were like 29 and 30 degrees, to New Orleans, where it was like 60. It was comfortable. So there's that. Two, things were starting to bloom, and like barometric pressures were really messing with me. So it could have been sinuses. But I also was wearing a headband, which has a tendency to give me headaches. And I wore one because it was cute with my outfit, but then it became a slight problem because that my whole outfit was like a landmark for Jeffrey to be able to find me on a float in a sea of a gabillion people. So then I was like, do I take it on? Do I leave it off? And so that became part of the problem. By the time I got to Jeff at the end of the day, I legitimately was so nauseous that the smell of food was like someone was trying to kill me. And then I think it was also just some other personal things that were happening through that day with things that have nothing whatsoever to do with barometric pressure, sinus, screwdrivers, or a headband. And I was ready to just get home and go to bed and lay down. And I almost felt like 90 degrees better on a scale, like not a full 180, but it was like 90 degrees better when we left dinner and got in the car. Like it was just like taking me away from the situation was super helpful. So I'm gonna have to kind of play with that a little bit more, unfortunately, before I can 100% say, but I just like might be in a really weird phase with that. And it sucks because that's a lot of what I like to drink is things that have like citrusy flavors and things. I just don't think that they're agreeing with me for whatever reason. And another thing that I'm going to ask my physician about when I go for my semi-annual, and a lot of the reason why I take the notes that I do, so that when I go, and in case I didn't really say this, I actually use my weeks specifically for like health, fitness, well-being. So you're going to see mood and energy, you'll see workouts, you'll see if I was sick, that kind of thing, intimacy, my cycle, all that is tracked here. But I do want to ask him specifically about, my mom wants me to ask him about Lyme disease, and I want to talk to him about this thing that I've heard where if you get bitten by a tick, specifically, you can develop allergies to things, because I used to never get nauseous like that. And it all seemed to happen after a really, really, really bad chigger run-in, and I really hadn't thought about it very much until we were talking to somebody on the trip and that happened to his wife. Let me know in the comments if this has ever happened to you. I know the most common thing to happen is to get bitten by a tick and develop an allergy to to beef specifically. But this had happened to her and she developed an issue with scallops. This happened to me and I was having a lot of issues with oysters, but now looking back, it may not be just oysters. It may be orange juice, because all of the times that this is happening, I'm also drinking like mimosas. So now I really got to separate and figure out which it is. But that's my side rant on my health. Let me know if that happened to you guys or y'all have a similar thing. So on this side, this is actually January of last year. As is. Another thing that recently got asked in the Coffee Monster Co. group was, what am I documenting on each side? And I feel like if you look really close, you can tell my handwriting is completely different a year later, which is wild. Like it's just bigger and fatter, and it started to get narrow and tinier as we get a year later. I did mess up. I started the 12th through the 18th, and I was gonna have it be this week because I had it Valentine's themed, and it was because the pages were stuck together. So I did at least cross out and rewrite the dates. But I'm trying to use every spare inch of this before I switch over to a new week's. I definitely think a week's is gonna always be in my lineup. I think it just may change over time what's actually in it. I would love to maybe use this as like a budget planner or something. I think it could be really great for that, because there is enough space to do some daily logs and then maybe some check-ins or some goals for the week. I think it would be really fun to use it for that. But for right now, it's completely wonderful for a health and fitness. And again, that's not to say that, you know, I couldn't have 2 weeks, because this would fit in this really, really well as like a traveler's notebook size, I think, too. So I think that would be really nice. Or a garden journal. There's a lot of things that weeks are great for because of their size, I think, personally, in my opinion. Through here, this is where I start really getting sick, and doing a lot of like nasal sprays and things like that. Didn't feel really great. And then to make matters so much worse, Binks started to get sick. So she started having some tummy issues, and I'm still not 100% sure kind of what happened and where we landed. So as of right now, the best guess that everyone has is that my mom, I love her, was giving her papaya while she was staying at her house. And papaya is okay for cats, but not in a consistent and in not a consistent way. It's okay every once in a while. It's great for them because it breaks down an enzyme, or it has an enzyme that breaks down hair, which is really great, but it can also cause a lot of tummy issues. Well, by the time, you know, troubleshooting, and I'm sure if you guys have pets or even yourselves, I'm playing a game of troubleshoot with me and my sinuses at the time, and then all of a sudden it turned into troubleshooting with her, and multiple blowouts in the house where she was scared, and so she was running around, and so the house was a literal mess. Spot cleaning went on for days. Couches had to be deep cleaned, carpets had to be deep cleaned. She had to be locked out of a lot of things. She had to be kept in the bathroom. I wasn't sleeping because she wasn't sleeping, and she was sad because she couldn't be with mom, and it was just a mess. And if you've ever had an animal that has just been sick and you can't like be with them because they kind of have to be quarantined in a way, like, you know. So it was rough. And then she swung the the absolute opposite direction. So we went from whatever was upsetting her stomach was officially out, and then she had to reset to, so like, I think she might have taken 2 days worth of medicine before I was like, okay, nothing's happening at all. And the vet had said like, oh, she's probably not gonna like firm everything up for a day or two, so you might want to continue to quarantine her until you know like everything's okay in there, so that you don't have a big mess to clean up. And so by the end of the week, she finally got better, and we were like on the way out. There were still some weird behaviors and things that I was having to watch for and that were making me nervous, and I'm sure she felt my nerves. So like her health notes are even in here because this is easy for me to keep in my purse and take to the vet's office. So again, I really love that a Weeks is so portable in that way, and would encourage you, even if you're in great health, I think it's a great way to chart whatever supplements you're taking. Lots of self-care stuff, so my tracker can change here or there and everywhere, but I really love it to kind of keep me on track with making sure I'm taking care of myself. So making sure I'm washing my face in the morning and at night, and I'm not just copping out. Getting back to temperature checking, I really want to do, because that's a great way for me to tell where I'm at in my cycle and where I'm headed, but it's just useful information as well to have. Working out, obviously, meds and supplements. I think I'm going to go back to separating those two again. I've been grouping them a little bit more lately. Same with mood and energy. That's just something that I may want to break out of a little bit more again. Like I said, I even have Banks's notes, because even though she was getting better, like I said, she was developing some quirky habits. So she was using her litter box to pee, but not to go poop. So that was a thing. And then eventually we figured out why, and we worked through that. So lots of things. And like you see Banks floor mat. So we were trying to figure out like what was the magic, what was going on. Kitchen floor, it was a whole thing. And then we're into March. So that will wrap up my Hobonichi weeks for February. Yeah, that's it. I felt like I needed to finish a thought. I think I just went on like a really long rant. But yes, it's always my favorite in terms of usefulness. I feel like I do get a good amount of use out of that space. And I can't wait to keep using it for that. I think it really is so wonderful to be able to whip out with that for so many reasons. Like Jeff is involved in that one, obviously, because of intimacy. So it's cool for us to kind of like look at it as a couple every once in a while. But like I said, it's great because it helps with self-care. It helps with your health, like actual tracking of it. You can involve your pets in there, obviously, or your spouse or your kids. Like if you wanted to create columns, I just think it has a lot of use that way. Then flipping over to the yearly. So you're obviously going to get a sneak peek at March a little bit because March is on this page, and you'll see we're way deep into March, obviously, because it's actually the last day of March that I'm posting this video. My tracker's okay. I'm still not doing super great when it comes to the custom and French because I literally just have not had the time recently to really delve into either. I'm just kind of trying to keep my head above water most of the time. Another thing that I think might be seeing the end of the road soon is going to be the 5 a.m. wake up thing. That is coming on the heels of I have slept in a couple days recently and really enjoyed it. And not just like from a lazy standpoint per se. I'm also going to zoom this in a little bit. I don't know why I didn't zoom with the other, so sorry about that. I think that's a little bit nicer. So I do think that at some point the 5 a.m. thing is going to fall off. I do feel like there's use to it. I at one point had a tracker that was a 5-7-9. So it was a get up at 5, have dinner by 7, and be in bed by 9. I really liked that. With the time change and with Jeff's schedule and all of that, I think that may need a little adjustment. I think I still wake up at 5 enough days out of the week where it's not exactly really necessary, but I really don't want to continuously put pressure on myself. And now that I'm also getting a little bit older, it's kind of nice to sleep, and not be pressured, because especially on like a Friday or a Saturday, waking up later means I'm going to stay up later. Like, it got to be 9 o'clock last night and I was like, whoa, it doesn't feel like it's 9, because we had actually slept in pretty late. And by pretty late, I mean, like, I think it was like 8 o'clock. And then this morning, I think we got out at about 7. So I say that, but it's starting to get late. And I'm yawning. So, I think that's something that might drop off over time. Otherwise, I think everything else is kind of going to stay. Obviously, I already have my April tracker set up, so that's going to stay. But there's some things in May that I am already toying around with in terms of workouts and just some challenges. I'd like to see me do a couple things that are different. So that's what I'm looking forward to with that. Now we're going to go to the monthly. So as far as the monthly goes, a lot of cleaning did not get done because, as I said, I was literally either gone, I was sick, or Binks was sick. So things were being cleaned. Obviously, a lot got cleaned whenever she was sick. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like when we went through the whole like flea fiasco, and everything had to be super duper clean. And I'm still not 100% convinced that what happened was not a lingering situation from that just didn't rear its head for a really long time for whatever reason. Again, she was at my mom's for a week. God only knows. Like, I don't even know. Anything can happen. And then I was super bummed because one of my uploads didn't post. It posted like a day late. That was like a weird thing. Again, I'm trying to be a little bit better about trying to get back to Instagram and to the Coffee Monster Co. group. So finally starting to pop those in there, and those are marked a little bit differently. I did have a bonus video, which was kind of nice, and a rare occurrence. Typically, that's not a normal thing. I'm hoping to have a couple bonus videos in April, one to make up for one that I missed in March, and then I'm also hoping to do some extras in May. So we'll see how that goes. I'm also already toying around with maybe another YouTube Live month, but I'm really not sure where that is. And I know I've talked about this in previous videos where those are really, really tough for me to plan. Solely based on the fact that I not only have to have like uploads for Wednesday already on the books, but then I have to kind of make sure that they don't upset the balance for a live, and like what is okay to do as a live and what just doesn't work. So, and I've learned the hard way through that. So that does take a lot of prep for sure. So maybe hoping for that sometime in the summer. Ooh. I went almost all the way to the daily pages. I'm seriously considering getting another set of tabs to put under the weekly because I never seem to know where the heck my weekly is. So I think I would have probably showed this on the January flip through because half of the week is January. So this literally is the beginning of our trip into February. What was I trying to say? I don't know. Again, it's getting late and my brain's getting all kind of weird. It's been a day. But on this day, I did have to work. I worked remote. I had a chiropractor appointment. That was another thing that was going on in general. Like, I swear my whole body has just decided to break. So not only was the first day of February, did I have to like drop the cat off, go to a chiropractor appointment that originally I did not have planned. But I needed to work, pack, make in bulk dinner stuff and food throughout the day, get the house tidied enough to where I wasn't crazy. And then we left for New Orleans at like 5:30 and didn't get in until like 1:30 in the morning, and they're back an hour. So it was like 2 a.m. here. Super exhausted. So my neck hurt, and I'm in a car for 6 million hours. Not a great combo. So we slept in very little, and then we went to St. Roch Market. And then we did a driving tour with Jim. I did not know that a client was coming, that they were kind of, because it was with my boyfriend and his family, and they have a family-owned business. I did not know that someone, like a client, was coming on the trip. Had no idea. And so we got there and I was like, okay. So I started not feeling so great on the driving tour, and I was so excited when we finally got to the balcony party, which there was a lot of confusion in the morning as to what was going on, because I was like in the middle of getting ready, and what I thought was going to happen is that we were just going to kind of like hang out for the day and like have time to go do some stuff that we hadn't done before, and then we were gonna go to the second line in a balcony party for Crew of Pontchartrain, which is who another person in our party was riding with. And then it was like, no, that's not what's happening. We're gonna do this totally other thing. And I was so confused because obviously I'd packed based off of what I thought we were doing every day. So thank God I am me, and I pack multiple outfit changes for weather and whatever. I literally always pack like 3 extra outfits because I don't always know that things are going to go according to plan. So I was really excited that we finished the walking and the driving tour, and I didn't really know I thought we were just going to meet like the rest of our party. Sorry about the dog. So I thought we were going to meet the rest of the party, and I didn't realize that we were like going to join them in second line, like was the original plan. And in case you're wondering what second line is, it's basically like that crew is walking through the street with a jazz band throwing beats. That's second line at its simplest. But only that crew and their party can do that with them, if that makes sense. It's not just like everybody and their mother joining it. So that was really, really fun. And the pictures of that were great because everyone was really like surprised for some reason. And then after the balcony party, we went to our group kind of split again because it was Jeff, myself, and Donnie staying at obviously Donnie's house. So we like broke off and we went and got dinner and went home, which was really nice. Saturday, we really got to sleep in some more finally and kind of catch up a little bit on some sleep. It was also a really rainy day. So originally the plan was to go see some parades after going to the Crew of Carrollton Den, which I will talk about this in my Project Life videos. I don't exactly know what I thought I was gonna see, but what I imagined like a float. And I'm sure if anybody is watching this and they are from New Orleans or have been to a Mardi Gras, you'll be like, how did you not know? I don't know what I thought. I thought like, okay, it's gonna be a couple floats in this like warehouse, and I just know that their float is themed for this. You guys, I walk into this thing and it was like a warehouse full of parade floats, not little floats that you would see in a little small town parade. Huge, beautiful, well done floats, just full, like from front to back of this warehouse. It was incredible. I'd never seen anything like it. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm yawning. Oh my goodness. So not cute. But we went to breakfast and then we went there, and the plan was to go watch the Crew of Pontchartrain's parade. Unfortunately, it was raining buckets at this point. Like, there was no way that this was going to be a pleasurable experience. And another thing that's not on here is going to the bead store on Saturday. So before we even went to the Den, we went to the bead store. Oh my gosh. Just like if I could say one collective thing about this trip and about Mardi Gras, it is the loudest, most colorful, beautiful. It is like all the best of loud and colorful. It's just the best. And this is coming from somebody who's done lots of theme parks, lots of that style of things, and I've never seen anything like it. I would 10 out of 10. I'm gonna stop yawning eventually because I'm gonna go to bed at some point. I'm so sorry. But I am not restarting this video. That's just where we're at. But it was so loud and colorful and wonderful, and it was such a great day, even though it was a rainy day. So we went and we got po' boys at Parrington's, and I tried some fried green tomatoes there. That was the conversation where everybody in the party finally found out that I had an issue with seafood. Like, up until that point, we really hadn't said anything. Not that it was like a big deal, but it was just like, you kind of don't want to spoil everyone's fun, but like, somebody offered me something, a bite of like a fried oyster, which I love fried oysters. And we're like, Jeff was like, she can't anymore. And then it was just like, the look of sadness on everyone's face was serious. I wish I had a picture of that because it was serious. And then we went back to Donnie's, and Jeff and I watched Good Omens. He took a nap. I made bracelets. The road was actually flooded. We got the joint barbecue for dinner, and then we went to bed super early because we needed to wake up at I literally woke up at 4 a.m. so that we could leave at 6:15 for the brunch at House of Blues and then do the second line, which was incredible. When I say that it's the best kind of loud, imagine waking up an entire downtown area at 8 a.m. with a jazz band and beats, because that's what it was. It was literally walking through the streets of downtown throwing beats. It was so much fun. And one thing that made this extra memorable was the fact that it was Crew of Carrollton's 100th year, which is really major. I think only 4 or 5 crews have ever lasted to see their 100. So that was really memorable for Jeff and his dad and Donnie to all be able to ride together, and for me to be able to see it all and it be my first experience. It was such a magical moment. I got to tour a house where Interview with a Vampire was filmed. Not the whole thing, obviously, but part of the movie was filmed there. The part where they turn Kirsten Dunst's character into a vampire. We saw Pygmalion, Femme Fatale, and then obviously Carrollton as far as the parades go. And then as soon as Jeff had gone by, I was like ready to go. I did not feel good. And then I put dinner in quotations because I didn't eat anything, but it was at Drago's. Then we definitely slept in. We started to reorganize our luggage and kind of get ready because we knew we were going to leave a day early. We went and visited with his uncle and the Colonel, which is the dog. We went to dinner at Amy's. I got to meet Lyle for the first time, and Catherine. Lyle is, I guess he's a second cousin, maybe. That's really confusing, family tree-wise. He is the happiest baby I've ever seen in my life, though. The next day we left. And I'm going to try not to be super redundant when I get to the daily pages about this. We went to the Cafe Du Monde in City Park with Lee, and then we drove home. We stopped at El Amigo Mexican Bar in the middle of nowhere, and then came home and I made spaghetti and we unpacked at Jeff's house. So I had like a double unpack and a double pack situation. So I had to unpack my luggage so I could get into it when we got to Jeff's, and then repack it all up the next morning to drive home. But where I said I had the Sunday scaries, it was because we went to visit his grandfather. Jeff had obviously some things that he needed to do at his house as well. Then we had lunch. we didn't get to Kroger until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I am a morning person. I'm not a night person. So this was really a struggle bus. Thank goodness he helped me get everything done, because I was planning to pick up Binks a day early. And I was cooking dinner. So we really had to rally and get through at least the small to-do list to make me not crazy, because Thursday I went right back to work and I was in the office. So that was a lot. And I needed to, the next morning, just kind of, again, regroup and try to get some things done to prep for Binks coming home. And the fact that I wasn't really going to be home much that evening, because as soon as work was over, I went to Trader Joe's to get some stuff for, Lunar New Year, which was that weekend, and pick up the cat, obviously, take the trash out, like, just get my life back together. I really love that I did actually use the City Life kit with the, what is the name of this washi? I think it's City, and I have the 2.0 as well. But I really love that I got the chance to use like some of the blocks, because I feel like I'm really bad at using kits. And now I'll stop talking about things so granularly, just kind of going through the vacation a little bit. And then it was just kind of back to business as usual. A lot of the reason I picked Binks up a day early was because I was, Thursday, my boss was actually out of office with her daughter. And then Friday, she was going to be back. My coworker was going to be off. So it was like the first day that I was really going to have more undivided attention. And I didn't want to risk like being back late from picking Binks up and it be really crazy. I just wanted to be able to be home and like really settle into the day really easy with her. I did get a good workout in. I did watch Star Wars. I kind of like finished, I made some progress in my Star Wars rewatch. So I do a journal entry about this in February, but like there are certain points where I was like in between or like at weird breaks. So I'm rereading Lord of the Rings, but at the time I was rereading The Hobbit, and I was watching the movies alongside of the reading portions. So while we were driving home on Tuesday, I literally finished like over 100 pages that are covered in the first Hobbit movie. So I was finally able to watch that, and I was like breaking it up into sections. So because I was still reading, I decided to watch Star Wars episodes 5 and 6, because in my rewatch for those, that's where I'm at. Then I wanted to take a little break and watch some cute movies that were a little bit more Chinese themed, since it was Lunar New Year. So I watched Turning Red, and then Jeff had never seen Shang-Chi, and so we watched that, which was really nice. I cooked some things. I was really bummed because I was unable to get the tarts done, because I had forgotten like that they are something that take a little bit more time, and then I accidentally forgot the wontons. I did make the prettiest egg roll in a bowl that I've ever made, but unfortunately the steak that I used, I hated the marinade. Jeff loved it, so he ate all of it, which was great, but I almost could not eat at all. It was just not good to me. So yeah, that was different. And then the next day we were just kind of cozy, finished up the movie. We watched Ghostbusters Afterlife, which was really good and great, because I still had this sticker from last October. I had pulled him up and saved him. So it was funny to use this exact sticker, because I had put it down on a spread to watch Ghostbusters Afterlife specifically. So that was kind of fun. Going into the next week, I'm using the older Floral Forest, I think it might be what it's called. The new one is purple. So I did get that in, I don't know what release this was now that I'm thinking about it, but this is the new one. It's like I think it is called Floral Forest, but it's purple, which is kind of pretty. I only got one roll, because even though I love purple, I really quite like the pink. I wish that, I don't know, I kind of wish that it was just like a clear background maybe. I don't know. super strange. But this is when I started to feel sick. So, and this was my first full week back at work, really. So there's lots of work stuff happening. I started watching The Mandalorian season 1 because, again, I'm reading Hobbit at the time. So I'm not there yet. My Q1 pen pals arrived. Valentine's Day. So Jeff and I had Valentine's at home, which was nice, and my preference. Friday was probably the worst day for me as far as sickness. I went to bed really, really, really early and laid down almost as soon as work was over, if not before. I think I laid down by like 4:30. And normally my day ends at like 3:30 on a Friday, so that was really bad. This was when Banks started to get sick and the cleanup began, and then she was fine all day on Sunday until bedtime. I did watch Amsterdam that day and do a lot of cleaning and content work. This week I used, as you can see, a lot of self-care things. So every February I try to do one spread that's like self-care themed. Because to me, that's just as important as spending time with your significant other and nurturing that relationship. So I try to do like a self-care themed week and remind myself. This was definitely a rough week, so I was trying to do the best that I could. There was lots of very early wake up times because of Banks, because she was not, I was keeping her quarantined, and she didn't love that. I mean, she's 8 years old, and honestly, I don't think she's ever been locked out of a room with me since she was a kitten and had her first night with Alfie and I. I think she spent 2 nights in the bathroom by herself when we first got her. And then that was it. She's like slept in a bed with me ever since, unless I'm on vacation and she's at my mom's, or she sleeps by herself when I'm not here, obviously. But like that was it was awful because she was mewing and crying, and I'm feeling like the worst parent in the world. Again, if you've got a pet, you understand. So there's lots of spot cleaning, trying to work. Thankfully, Monday was a holiday, so that really didn't affect too much of the work week. So she had her vet appointment. I started watching The Crown, season 6. This is also about the time that I found, the week before, I found the Children of the Watch podcast to go along with my Star Wars watching, which is great. And I know I've been talking more recently. This is a very sticker heavy week. Gracious. I've been talking a lot about how I really like to have accompanying podcasts to whatever I'm watching. So like I do it with Girls Next Door and Girls Next Level. That was kind of the first thing. I did it with The Gilded Age. There's some things I would love to go back and rewatch that I'm now aware of, like have matching podcasts and things like that. So I try my best to kind of research it before I watch something. But that was something fun happening through here. Children of the Watch was definitely constant because there was a lot of episodes before they even got to the Mandalorian episodes. They were going back and talking about like Rebels and Clone Wars episodes pertaining to the Mandalorian, because when they started the podcast, they were originally thinking they were only going to talk about the Mandalorian. So it was called, what was it called? The Mandalorian Watch, I think, when it first started. Let me know if you listen to that or any podcasts. I love accompanying podcasts. I used like this cute little header. I was like, what's the right word? To kind of label if I was doing things that were self-care related. These were some early bedtime days, so I thought those boxes worked out really, really well. I actually stayed home with Banks that day and then came and checked on her during lunch this day. Thursday, I was a little bit better and I let her stay at home by herself. I think, I can't 100% remember now. It was margarita night, which was nice. I did talk to the vet and make an appointment for her on Saturday because we had now swung from one opposite of the spectrum to the other at that point. But luckily I got to cancel it the very first thing the next morning. which was a very big relief. And then I started to kind of calm down because I could kind of like take a breath, like, okay, like I know what's going on in her tummy now, and now it's just like getting the regulation right. So there was that. And then Saturday was a little bit calmer, and I think this was like really the first time that I'd been able to go out to Jeff's. And this was also probably the first time that I like slept, because she was being like quarantined and everything was like covered in like towels or blankets so that in case she did have an accident, we were okay. So I was super happy to just get some sleep, and we slept in and went to Waffle House, and then we went to Tractor Supply, and I was so excited because I found raspberries and strawberries. You guys, my patio garden's out of control. And then we explored the property that he purchased a few years ago and it's going to build on this year. And then we came to the house, repacked my stuff, and normally I wouldn't go back out there on a Sunday night, and that was a really rare thing, but we actually like left for the morning, and I was like, hey, what are your thoughts? I think I was honestly, you guys, I think I was just riding a gardening purchase high because I was thinking about it, and I think like I just was like, I think I can make this work. It's a very rare, because it's very hard to come from his house on a Monday. He lives an hour away, and with school traffic, it can take like an hour and a half for me to get home. And that's literally just to go from his house to my house, to get Binks ready for the day, to pack my lunchbox, and then get to my office and start the day. So it's like a whole thing before I even get there. And it's just really tough because typically we also are very meeting heavy. So it's not like I just need to get there and coast through the day. I legitimately have to people all day. So I don't always get to do that, but I kind of asked him, I was like, hey, do you think that we could just go by my house, which the property is like 20-30 minutes. I can't wait until he moves, from my actual house. So we came by, did a couple things at the apartment, and then went back to his house. And I actually finished The Hobbit. So we actually started watching Battle of Five Armies and had leftovers and a Gideon's cookie. I love how pretty and pink this is. Still watching Children of the Watch. I obviously fell asleep because Battle of Five Armies is pretty long and full of lasagna and exhausted. It was going to happen. Just normal work days. This was actually really fun. I actually completed a workout that I had tried to do somewhere. Where is it? I think right here on Friday. I tried to do the workout and I couldn't complete it. And so I was gonna, like, I flipped it in reverse to like start with what I didn't do the whole set of and like complete that and work backwards. And I actually ended up completing the whole workout, which was really fun. I just completed it backwards. Worked, and then Jeff and I went to Fratelli's, and they happened to be doing bingo night, and Jeff was watching Blue-Eyed Samurai. This was where I ended up journaling at one point because I was watching really random stuff because I was done with kind of the Hobbit thing. I was listening to the podcast trying to catch up to where I was in the Star Wars thing. So like Charmed and Lost Colony of Roanoke, just really random stuff. And then Jen and I decided to start Succession. So Jen is my coworker, and sometimes we try to read or watch something at the same time. So we started Succession selfishly because I want to order some really cute Bridgerton stickers so that I can document when we're watching Bridgerton, because that's our next thing. And then Roycast was the accompanying podcast that I picked. It's perfect because it covers all the seasons even after HBO came out with theirs in season 3, which is great. We watched Code 8 part 1 or part 2. Ooh, hard to say. It was good. I'll say that. Whichever it was. And then I actually caught the entire Inky Quill live stream, which was amazing, because I actually got to craft. I made a soup, and now I'm all the way into March, so I'm going to shut up because I didn't mean to do that. And then we will go to the daily pages. And again, I'm going to try not to be super redundant and just kind of show the things that I really liked. So here's my in bulk menu of what I ended up cooking. This is one of the Q1 washi tapes. I think I have them labeled on another page, so we'll see that. I used the ruler to make these little check boxes for AM and PM, and then just kind of journaled about the day and the fact that I did try to light a candle in every room. This is the washi I used for the week because of in bulk. I really loved finally getting to put stickers in here. So I use the Photo Room app to take the background out of my photos so that I can make the stickers like this. So we went to St. Roch's Market, like I said. We also went to, there's a big, what is it called? It's like called the Crew Fountain or something like that. And so every crew has their like little thing, their little plaque. So this was Carrollton's, and this is 1924. And that was the one that we were there to see, the main one. That's the one that the boys were riding in. And it's just me talking about that and then going to the balcony party. And I used the alternate City Life. So this is like City Life 2.0 at night, because we were walking around at night. And I'm not like the biggest night owl or in the city at night kind of person. So this washi, I was so excited to get to use all of the washis from the city kit, because that was what Q1 was all themed for, which was nice. That was perfect for breakfast at Gerald's. Obviously it was raining. I liked this style, like breaking it down into the 3 columns and just continuing journaling. We had Po' Boys at Parrington's. That's Jeff and I on the float that they were gonna ride in. I felt absolutely stuffed to the brim because I was eating like 3 meals a day on vacation, like some of these days. We had brunch at House of Blues. That is me in the mask that Jeff gave me and my whole getup for Mardi Gras. And he blew me so many kisses after he gave me everything. And this is Let the Good Times Roll in French. I love this little vampire emoji talking about the interview with the Vampire House. Femme Fatale had lots of kiss marks on everything. This is a very long journal about spending time with his family and just everything that entails. Then I broke it into the 3 columns again, which I really like. We went to Cafe Du Monde, so of course, gotta use the coffee washi. I read a book because I literally read the whole way pretty much. We stopped for tacos, like I said. Finally got home and I missed my bed. I was totally fine with us doing this in reverse because it made the most sense, because we both needed to be in the office on Thursday. So it made the most sense to do it this way, but still it was no less like exhausting. I love using like washi in short strips to talk about a section. So like while he was working on the house, I was catching up in my journal. Then we visited Papa, and then I used this for like the chores when we got to my house. First day back at work, got Banks early. Just trying to get everything back in order was really this day. Lunar New Year. So I like how this got sectioned out because I've got my kind of to-do list back. So we're done kind of documenting style and it's more to-do list oriented again. So I put what I was watching. I also went ahead and I've done this for the April spreads, but I'm trying to be more conscious of putting my colors in, because that really helps me. One, when people ask like what Tombows did you use, but it also helps me for future spreads so that I'm not like digging through all my Tombows wondering what the color combo was. We really did a ton of cooking both of these days, but Jeff was cooking a bunch more this day. I did make mac and cheese though, and the egg tarts. So we were still both cooking. He did a whole rotisserie chicken, but it was like a very low impact day in terms of other things. We had a movie night. I really liked Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I really want to go see the new one in theaters. Like in an actual theater would be nice, because I really love that they didn't try to recreate the wheel. Like, it's a continuation of the story, and they've brought all the characters back into it and the storyline, and they're really just expanding on the storyline, which I think is really, really great. But I also think that they've done a really great job with paying homage to those that have passed away in the franchise, and I just think it was really, really well done, personally. If you haven't seen it, definitely recommend. Definitely starting to feel really crappy here. I was definitely exhausted. So this is Concrete Jungle is what it's called, my bad. So it was Concrete Jungle and Concrete Jungle 2.0, then City Cars and Classical Vertical. Those were the 3 washies from the Q1 subscription. This was me trying to reset my brain, because I was very meh, and in a bad place. I wasn't feeling good. And like I said, I felt like I just couldn't catch a break at this point. Like, the trip was great in so many ways, and so memorable and so wonderful, but it really struck a nerve with me for a bunch of personal reasons. And I did not also now want to be sick. I didn't have time to be sick, really. And so I was just not okay. And I needed to just kind of reset my brain. And I think I did okay. I definitely wasn't 100% that day. I know that much. Again, creating my own stickers. So this was the bouquet that Jeff gave me. Just something smelling cute. And he actually surprised me with a gift card that day, which I didn't expect. I don't love the doodles. I really don't. Every once in a while I try it again, and I'm reminded that I don't care for it. This is when I am working more on getting the March setup done and doing some catch up for February. And I had kind of gotten to a place with work where I can catch up a little bit during the day, like do a page or 2 in between, like if I'm on hold, and I literally, like, if I have a day that's full of calls and I am sitting on hold with a carrier and I can't use I can't use another phone, I'm like held hostage. I've learned that having my planner is super helpful to catch up on, and like to prep a couple pages at bare minimum. Again, starting to feel worse. This was, again, that Friday that I went to bed really early, and I watched The Greatest Night in Pop. That was a really good documentary to watch. That was when Binks was starting to kind of get a little bit better. I think I definitely was letting her out at that point, because now we had swung the opposite direction. Wait, why do I feel like I missed something? No, I didn't. But I was letting her cuddle with me, and I was keeping a blanket over everything so that if she had a mess or anything, it was a much easier cleanup than it had been. That was it. She was starting to show signs that she was going to get sick that Friday, I think. And then literally. So I was starting to feel better. I was starting to I went to Target and got a lot of new seeds, which was really fun. Things I definitely didn't need. But I was starting to get garden plants in my head. Binks was officially sick. I need to go back and color these in. I would rate Amsterdam like 4.5, 5 almost. Like, I would say 4.5 more than anything, because it was really, really good. Actually, I would rewatch it. It's a true story, which is fun. It's very like Wes Anderson-y, but not Wes Anderson, which is kind of interesting. Jeff had his second day of the NRA certification. It went really well, but Binks had a massive blowout. You guys, I literally can't even tell you guys. So nothing happens all day. She's fine, totally fine. Everything's fine. I'm cleaned up. I'm still spot cleaning. I'm nervous, but like nothing's happened. Jeff and I get into bed. Like, we've eaten, we've cleaned up. It's almost 10 o'clock at night, so it's like 9:30. We get in the bed. And she comes running into the bedroom and jumps up in her cat tower. Okay, Binks will get the zoomies and she will run around, but she never jumps in her cat tower like that and looks at us. It was super weird, and we both looked at each other and we were like, something's wrong. But it was almost like we were in slow-mo and she was in super mode. Like, it was so bad, and before we could like stop it, she had run through the house, all over the house, up the back, like literally all over the house, and made a mess everywhere. And thank God he was here to help, because it was so much work. Like, I just wanted to cry. And then I locked her up in the bathroom, and we barely slept because she was sad and mewing. And then she had a little blowout that morning, so it like reaffirmed I was going to take her to the vet. And then worked on cleaning stuff. Again, thankfully this was President's Day. In between cleaning, I started The Crown just to like have a minute to sit down and breathe. This entire day was wrong, so I did all this journaling. This is where I was saying, like, I've got to like get a handle on the back planning or the backlogging sometimes, because I'll look at a couple days and be like, oh, okay, I know what happened, and then I'll just write the wrong thing. And I was like, what the heck? So some of this was right, I feel like. But then I really just like got off on a tangent because I mixed up my days. So Tuesday, I ended up being able to be remote because there was no reason for me to go in other than I was on the calendar, but everybody else was remote. And I was like, hey, you know, my kid's sick, basically. And then Wednesday, I came home to check on her, and I had like mixed up the journaling for this. This was real-time journaling. So I made a list of stuff that I wanted to get in the 8-year anniversary. I did not get all of that stuff, but I did get a good bit of it, which was nice. If you did participate in the sale, let me know down below. That's another thing that really threw off my video. So if you're wondering why like there wasn't a post that one Sunday, I'm really sorry. Or why things seem a little odd, or why this is posting on a Sunday instead of, this would normally be like a Wednesday type of content, because I try to keep it more like Project Life, hauls and stuff like that on Sundays, and then leave Wednesdays for planning. But my order didn't get here when it was supposed to. It literally got lost in the mail. I literally just talked to Sophia, and we issued a reshipment like this morning. So it actually should have been here. Is it 2 weeks ago? Tomorrow will be 3 weeks, I think, that it should have been here. And it was out for delivery, but didn't get delivered and just got stuck in some loop. The Atlanta area switched its processing center, so I think that's led to a lot of issues as well. So fingers crossed that this one gets here okay. But this was definitely done in real time. I remember that. I did sleep in. I literally turned off my alarm. But I do miss having Binks in the bed, was kind of a note. I finished The Crown season 6. I would say 5 out of 5. It was good, and it ended with grace, is all I'm going to say about it. I really wasn't a fan of some of the topics it covered, how it covered it. I feel like that starts to get into really dicey territory when you're really starting to deal with people like in a different like time frame. I don't know. I really liked the earlier seasons, but this was not my favorite, and just as it evolved, it really just, I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way. Friday, I love the rainbow poop, but that was how it felt. So I had a to-do list for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Every once in a while I'll kind of do that instead of having just that day's list. But this was kind of because I knew Saturday I was going to be at Jeff's, and so I really was not going to have a bunch of time on Saturday. And then Sunday we were planning to be together the whole day as well. So I didn't want to set myself up for failure and put a whole bunch of stuff on the weekend. I was really procrastinating. I was tired. You'll see where I lined out, because again, oops, wrong day. So I thought this was the night that we started watching Hobbit, and it was this night. But I finished Desolation of Smaug that morning. Jeff actually finished up a lot earlier, which is what kind of threw a bunch of stuff off. And then we had dinner. So he got a really nice porterhouse steak. I made cheesy potatoes. And then we tried these frozen green beans from Trader Joe's. So it was a very eclectic little meal. I love days where it's just documenting and no to-do list every once in a while. It just breaks it up a little bit. But again, not trying to be super redundant. We went to breakfast and had a slow start. Went out and toured the property, so I journaled about that a little bit. It's such a like weird topic for me to talk about in general. It depends on the day and the mood that I'm in as to how I feel about it, because it's a very loaded situation. And then talks about how we came to my house and kind of got my things together to go back out there, and we had leftover lasagna and started watching the final Hobbit. These 2 days are really simple. I was just at work, both of them. Nothing really exciting to talk about. Yeah. My boss ended up having to stay home sick, so I ended up having the office to myself, which was ironic because, like I said, I usually don't have the luxury where I can kind of come in and not have appointments on a Monday like that, but we actually ended up rescheduling them all. I finished the Hobbit reread and rewatch, so that was it for the Hobbit movies, and I just kind of journaled about that a little bit. I think being able to, because the Hobbit movies were not out when the last time I read that book. It was like I was still a kid, so it was my first chance to reread it as an adult. And it was so I gave it so much crap back in the day when the movies came out. I was like, how is this 400-page book being broken into 3 different movies when the Fellowship of the Ring is like 400 pages and 1 4-hour movie? Like, please explain that to me. And I was so uppity about it, but I can officially say once I like reread and rewatched everything, I was so much more appreciative, and it's now like flipped my opinion because I've now finished Fellowship of the Ring and I'm getting ready to rewatch the extended version. I've seen Lord of the Rings so many times, and even as an adult, but like I really couldn't tell you the last time I read Lord of the Rings either. So that's been really fun to like go through it now as an adult with fresh eyes, but also like be able to watch and compare content kind of situation, like to compare a book and a movie. And I really, really hate that so many details are left out because of the fact that this is such a massive book. Like, this was before the time of where you could comfortably break things up that massively. And I think we're just like in a different time and age with movies and television and what we're comfortable with breaking into 6,000 parts. So I kind of just talked about that very quickly. I got to print my January stickers again, because I say again, so this was my first attempt at printing the stickers, and I actually messed up our printer because I put the paper in wrong, and it caused ink to run for like a day. It was terrible. Thankfully, it was like crap stuff that I needed to print that didn't matter and didn't need to go into appointments, but it took forever to run it clean. So annoying. Let's see. I was talking about that weird flux where I was in between watching a bunch of different things. Like, I was in different places with my timelines. I really need to like make a note every once in a while and put like where I'm at in those binges, because like I have a Lord of the Rings thing going on, I have a Star Wars thing going on, I have a thing with Jen going on, and then I have like all the accompanying podcasts with things and where I'm like and then I have things that are not connected to a show that are podcasts that I listen to. So it's all crazy. And right now all I can do is listen to Cowboy Carter on repeat, but there's that too. I'm talking about some journaling. This was obviously a gloomy, rainy day. Started Succession, had analysis paralysis. Jeff and I went to the Fratelli's bingo night, and I made a note that Binks had not pooped since Sunday, which was stressful. And then this was Leap Day. I love the like aggravated frog. I thought that was clever. talking about Binks because literally Binks's poop was like the topic of so much at this time. As gross as that is, I found the podcast to go with Succession. Jen and I started watching Succession on Wednesday. And then the printer fixed itself and I was able to print the January and February photos to be able to start documenting them on their pages. So that brings us to the end of my February flip. Like I said, I will try to have March out much sooner than I did the February, and thank you guys for being patient. I know life is crazy for everybody, but I really try to give you guys consistency with this channel, and that's just something that I really find important. That's definitely an important thing to me, to continue to give you guys consistent content, because that's what I want out of my creators and what I feel like you guys should expect from me. So I really appreciate when you guys have grace or have to move things around, or maybe it's not the ideal thing. Like I said, this is normally kind of more of a documenting kind of day, something I normally do a Project Life video for, but I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys got some inspiration. And I look forward to sharing March with you guys soon. And in the meantime, enjoy creating your own little wonderlands. Bye, guys, and happy almost April. Bye.